What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Thursday, March 7th, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 22:52 Eastern Time here in the United States, and Biden just wrapped up his State of the Union address. And what's interesting is during his State of the Union address, there was a massive cyber attack on U.S. government websites. There were multiple U.S. government agencies that had issues with their websites, including the Department of Homeland Security, among others, but multiple government websites down tonight. Some of them are back up. FEMA was down as well. And right now, we have a U.S. presidential doomsday plane circling over southeastern Virginia. And we also have this sub hunter doing loops right outside of the Chesapeake Bay. So, U.S. continuity of government plans are in place right now in case something were to happen to the president. And that's why we have this doomsday plane circling here just south of Richmond, and this P-8 Poseidon monitoring the coast over here to make sure there's no enemy subs present that may try to launch a missile or something at the Capitol while he's speaking. So we also have some major breaking news coming out of France. Emmanuel Macron is calling for no limits when it comes to dealing with Russia in Ukraine. He said this today at a French parliament meeting about sending troops to Ukraine. He said, and I'm quoting him exactly, Vladimir Putin has shown he has no limits. We must show we have no limits too. Wow, guys, that is extremely strong to say. He also hosted a video conference with Ukraine and 30 other countries that were present at last week's meeting in Paris, where they all discussed the possibility of sending NATO troops into Ukraine. The purpose of the video conference was to discuss the implementation of the initiatives discussed at the meeting last week. Okay, so this is huge news, guys. Macron saying today, Vladimir Putin has shown he has no limits. We must show we have no limits too. And then after his meeting with the French Parliament, he hosted a video conference with all these European countries, these NATO allies, to implement initiatives that were discussed last week. Okay, so does that mean that they're going to be sending troops to Ukraine now? I think they are. I think that's what this video conference is about, because the Ukrainian front lines are starting to collapse because they're running out of ammunition and Europe is running out of ammunition. Emmanuel Macron warned that the West may have to step in to save Ukraine if Russia makes a breakthrough on the Eastern Front, according to reports on Thursday. The French president produced maps to show opposition leaders invited to the Élysée Palace points of potential Russian breakthroughs towards Odessa or Kyiv. Wow. Okay, so he obviously has intelligence that Russia is planning to make a move on Kyiv and Odessa. And remember, Dmitry Medvedev said about a week ago that Odessa and Kyiv are part of Russia and that they need to, quote unquote, come home to Russia. Okay, so Macron is obviously very concerned. He has intelligence, I'm sure. And he told them that there should be no more red lines on his country's involvement in the conflict. These are maps of the Ukrainian front line freely available anywhere, the Élysée told the Telegraph. Speaking after the 2.5-hour meeting, the party chiefs said the talks with Mr. Macron had left them concerned, with some accusing him of seeking to exploit the conflict for domestic gain ahead of key European elections in June. On Thursday, some party leaders said Mr. Macron advocated a no-limits approach to counter the Russian president as part of his theory of strategic ambivalence, keeping Moscow guessing. Jordan Bardella, the president of the hard-right National Rally Party, said he had urged Mr. Macron not to go to war with Russia and said threatening to send French soldiers to fight a nuclear power like Russia is irresponsible and extremely dangerous for world peace. Fabien Roussel, the Communist Party leader, said he feared Mr. Macron was ready to engage in a bellicose escalation, which would be very dangerous. Marine Tondelier, the leader of the Green Party, recounted Mr. Macron saying that Putin obviously has no limits. She said it was extremely worrying to see the president tell the meeting that we must show we have no limits too. Manuel Bompard of the hard left France Unbowed Party added, I arrived worried and I left even more worried. Okay, so these are multiple political parties from all parts of the political spectrum in France. They had hard left people, they had Communist Party leaders, they had hard right party leaders. I mean, just everyone at this meeting, and all of them were concerned, no matter which part of the spectrum they were in, either hard left, hard right, communist, whatever. Okay, they were all very concerned about what Macron was saying. So it looks like France is going to be the first one to send troops to Ukraine, official troops for fighting on the front lines. I'm not talking about advising. I'm not talking about, fixing broken tanks or something, okay? Where I'm talking about combat troops. Looks like France is going to deploy combat troops into Ukraine, and they're going to do it in secret, obviously. They're not going to let Putin know about it. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life, and it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there. Okay. So this is very, very concerning. The situation is escalating. And right now, as I speak, there's thousands of allied troops on the border of Russia in Poland right now doing massive exercises near the Suwałki Gap in northeastern Poland, which is a critical choke point where World War III could begin. Okay, this is where World War III could begin. I'm very, very concerned about this situation, guys. Okay. I think that NATO is worried that Russia is going to make a breakthrough and go all the way to Kyiv or go all the way to Odessa. And I think that's why Macron is pushing for troops on the ground in Ukraine. In the event that Russia is going to make that breakthrough, they have to be able to stop Russia somehow. If Ukraine can't do it, they're not going to allow Russia to just take the whole country and take the capital and take Odessa. Odessa and Kyiv are the 2 most important cities in Ukraine because Kyiv is the capital and then Odessa is the main port city. Okay. If Russia takes those cities, it's over. Okay. The country is gone. Okay. They're going to be landlocked from the Black Sea, and then their agricultural market is going to completely collapse because they're reliant on the grain corridor in the Black Sea. And if Russia takes Odessa, they're not going to allow that anymore. And then Russia could connect all the way to Moldova. There were already two parts of Moldova that were begging Putin to annex them. Gagauzia and Transnistria have both formally requested that Russia annex them. Okay, and these two parts of Moldova were involved in a very bloody war with Moldova and Romania during the collapse of the USSR and the Warsaw Pact in 1991. And the war lasted there until 1992. And this is what the U.S. Capitol looked like this afternoon. They had tall fences all around it to prepare for Biden's State of the Union speech. We also have some very serious information coming from the U.S. Embassy in Russia. They're warning of some type of terror attack in Moscow over the next 48 hours. Says here, security alert, avoid large gatherings over the next 48 hours. This was posted this morning by the U.S. Embassy in Russia. The embassy is monitoring reports that extremists have imminent plans to target large gatherings in Moscow to include concerts, and U.S. citizens should be advised to avoid large gatherings over the next 48 hours. Okay, so that's this coming weekend. Okay, so something big could happen in Moscow, potentially a false flag created by the KGB or the FSB as it's known now, which Russia did to justify the use of military force in Chechnya. Okay, that was one of the first things that Putin did when he became president, or actually when he became prime minister, was he ordered an invasion of Chechnya, and Russia completely leveled the city of Grozny. Just thousands of war crimes committed there, schools, hospitals destroyed by missiles. Okay, just complete brutality by the Russian military in Chechnya. And that was all because of an FSB or KGB false flag that the Russians set up to blame the Chechens and say, oh, look what those Chechens did. They blew up some apartment buildings, and now we have to go into Chechnya and clear out these terrorists, okay? And if you don't believe me, you can read about it yourself. There was actually one situation where FSB agents were caught in an apartment building in Moscow trying to set explosives in this apartment building, and somebody saw them doing it, and then the Russian government said, oh, well, they were just doing an exercise. They were practicing some type of an exercise to locate bombs placed in apartments, okay? And that's 100% real. That's not fake. That's not made up by Western media. That's 100% real. You could look it up. Okay, there was also a Russian politician who leaked out the plan to blow up these apartments weeks ahead of time before they did it. So it looks like Russia's planning some type of a false flag. We'll have to wait and see, so they can blame it on, whoever, America, Ukraine. It's hard to say, okay, but we'll have to wait and see. And if anything happens, I will go live. I won't be posting as much this weekend because I have some family visiting. But if there is a serious situation, I will go live. And I want to remind you guys that earlier this week, Vladimir Putin sent a final warning to the West, verbally and in writing, about the situation with NATO considering deploying forces to Ukraine. Okay, he also mentioned it during his State of the Nation address last week. Okay, he said that basically that would be grounds for nuclear war if NATO deploys forces to Ukraine, which they're going to do. Okay, because they're not going to allow Russia to take the capital or to take Odessa. Okay, so far, I think NATO has been thinking, okay, they got the eastern part of Ukraine, they got the southern part of Ukraine, no big deal. Okay, let's just try to freeze the lines there. As long as Russia doesn't go too much further, that's fine, we'll deal with it. But now it looks like Russia could potentially take the two most important cities, Okay, so now NATO is really concerned. And I have some video footage here that was sent to me by a subscriber of some B-2 stealth bombers flying over. And this person lives just a few miles from Whiteman Air Force Base. And I thought I would share this with you. This was last night. So let me just play this for you. You can hear the engine. It has a very specific sound that's different than normal planes. So our nuclear forces are on high alert, guys. And here we have a video showing Vladimir Putin meeting with Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. Okay, very interesting that he would suddenly meet with Sergei Shoigu with all this breaking news coming out this week, with NATO possibly sending troops and the leaked WebEx call of the German Air Force officials talking about using Taurus missiles to blow up the Crimean Bridge. Now he's meeting with Sergei Shoigu. So I think this year we could see things really escalate, guys. I'm saying this with full sincerity. I am very, very concerned. I've never been this concerned before. And here we have Putin meeting with the self-proclaimed president of the Gagauzia Republic in Moldova. And Gagauzia is one of the two republics in Moldova that asked Russia to be annexed. So very interesting that she would actually show up and meet him in person. So maybe Russia's not going to annex those republics, but what they may do is they may push into Odessa and then go right into Moldova and just conquer Moldova and do it secretly. Okay. Here we have some pictures coming from the border of Russia and Poland. Here we have Allied forces massing near the Russian border. You can see all these different flags here from multiple NATO countries in northern Poland. You can see all these Polish tanks here. These are Leopard tanks. And here we have some American tanks. Okay, so massive amount of NATO tanks. And apparently, Ukraine is already using French weapons against the Russian forces. Here we have a video confirming that Ukraine is now using French AASM Hammer guided bombs. Okay, look at that thing, guys. That is crazy. Look at that fireball. Massive bomb. Okay, absolutely insane. And according to the leaked WebEx call between German Air Force officials last Friday, British soldiers are on the ground in Ukraine helping Ukrainian forces fire long range Storm Shadow missiles. During the conversation, Lieutenant General Gerhardt, the head of the Luftwaffe, that's the German Air Force, described how Britain works with Ukraine on deploying Storm Shadow missiles against targets up to 150 miles behind Russian lines. When it comes to mission planning, the German commander says, I know how the English do it. They do it completely reach back. They also have a few people on the ground. They do that. The French don't. Reach back is a military term to describe how intelligence, equipment, and support from the rear is brought forward to units deployed on the front. But Gerhardt suggests the British approach is deeper, involving support on site. Okay, so support on site, that could mean many things. Does that mean that British pilots are actually flying the jets? Does that mean that British soldiers are helping with intelligence gathering on the ground somewhere? Very, very serious, guys. A senior Russian military officer has warned that the conflict in Ukraine could escalate into a full-scale war in Europe, and said the probability of Moscow's forces becoming involved in a new conflict is increasing significantly. Colonel General Vladimir Zarudniki, head of the Russian Army's military academy of the General Staff, made the comments in an article for Military Thought, a defense ministry publication. The state RIA news agency reported on Thursday. the possibility of an escalation of the conflict in Ukraine from the expansion of participants in proxy forces used for military confrontation with Russia to a large-scale war in Europe cannot be ruled out. RIA cited him as saying, "The main source of military threats to our state is the anti-Russian policy of the United States and its allies, who are conducting a new type of hybrid warfare in order to weaken Russia in every possible way, limit its sovereignty, and destroy its territorial integrity." He was quoted as saying, "The likelihood of our state being purposely drawn into new military conflicts is significantly increasing." Wow, guys. And the U.S. is preparing a UN Security Council resolution that would warn against deploying nuclear weapons in space, per sources, as the Biden administration seeks to dissuade Russia from potential plans to put a nuclear warhead in orbit or multiple nuclear warheads in orbit. And I want to play some videos of Ursula von der Leyen talking about the war in Ukraine. She had some very strong words for Vladimir Putin. Listen to her. I mean, this is crazy, guys. Listening to this lady speak here, I mean, it's just like World War II, basically, the words being used on both sides. So, we're on the verge, guys. We're on the verge.
Courage of those who attended Navalny's funeral. One of the brave women said, "Navalny sacrificed himself to save the country. Putin sacrificed the country to save himself. Putin is wanted for war crimes, and he will face justice. And there is a courtroom in The Hague waiting for him, my friends."
Wow.
Country to save himself. Putin is wanted for war crimes, and he will face justice. And there is a courtroom in The Hague waiting for him, my friends. Save himself. Putin is wanted for war crimes, and he will face justice. And there is a courtroom in The Hague waiting for him, my friends. There can be no doubt. Europe will stand by Ukraine for as long as it takes, with more financial support, more military support. Russia has destroyed houses, hospitals, and kindergartens, but they could not destroy the dream of a free and prosperous Ukraine that takes its place at the heart.
And here we have another video.
Security in Europe also means doing more in our own defense. Our common goal should be very clear. We need to turbocharge our defense industrial capacity.
Turbocharge our defense industrial capacity, okay? Basically preparing for World War III.
Goal should be very clear. We need to turbocharge our defense industrial capacity, more in our own defense. Our common goal should be very clear. We need to turbocharge our defense industrial capacity, should be very clear. We need to turbocharge our defense industrial capacity. Goal should be very clear. We need to turbocharge our defense industrial capacity in the next 5 years. And at the heart of this must be one simple principle. Europe must spend more, Europe must spend better, and Europe must spend European. And this will help us fill the urgent need to rebuild, replenish, and modernize member states' armed forces, and to keep supporting Ukraine. And in doing so, Europe should strive to develop and manufacture the next generation of battle-winning operational capabilities. And my friends, the EPP is...
So, huge news, guys, absolutely huge. And China's President Xi Jinping on Thursday called on the armed forces of China to coordinate preparations for military conflicts at sea, protect the country's maritime rights and interests, and the development of the maritime economy. Very interesting. I don't know if that's a call to prepare for war with Taiwan. Hezbollah launched another rocket attack today on Israel. They targeted an Israeli military base in northern Israel. And here you can see these massive plumes of smoke where those rockets hit. And the CENTCOM commander told U.S. Congress today some important details about Iran and the conflict in the Middle East. He said that Iran's production of 60% enriched uranium has gone up by 39% over the last year. Wow, guys, 39% increase so far this year over last in terms of Iran's production of enriched uranium. This is extremely serious, guys. So that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back tomorrow with more breaking news. And this weekend, I will be doing the long live streams while my family is visiting. This way, I can at least keep in contact with you guys, but I won't have time to do my usual updates. So, but I will be doing the long live streams. I know some of you guys like those. I'll have the cameras from various parts of the world in the Baltic countries and Russia. I'll have the emergency action messages in the background and flight trackers as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. I will be back tomorrow. So take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.
Able to understand that, and I get, with all due respect, that I understand you're on the Russian payroll, and I understand this is a Russian propaganda, but you have to be very careful, because let me tell you, we're going to finish this war. We're going to win because we're stronger. After this, Russia will pay the price. Believe me, Russia will pay the price. Russia is supporting the enemies of Israel. Russia is supporting Nazi people who want to commit genocide on us, and just Russia will pay the price. Russia also. Now, listen to me very carefully. We are going to finish with these Nazis. We're going to win this war. It's going to take the time it's going to take, but we're going to win this war. Afterwards, we're not forgetting what you are doing. We're not forgetting. We will come. We will make sure that Ukraine wins. We will make sure that you pay the price for what you have done. You as Russia, and you and as all the enemies of Israel, and you as all the people who are now making everything they can to support genocide of the Jews in Israel. We are not forgetting. We are not forgetting. Remember exactly what I'm saying now. You will pay the price.